Hello and welcome to my tutorial on how to draw a simple 2D pixel art bush for use in sprite based games. I'll be using GIMP and let's get started. So first we'll create a new file with a 32 by 32 pixel size. You can choose a different one if you want and use a transparent background. And now we'll start blocking out the shape of the bush first. So we'll choose a green, which is a little yellowish. This is good. This is good. We'll choose the pencil tool and we'll use a size of 4 or 5 to block out the shape of the bush first. So depending on what shape you want, you can vary the step. I'm going for a rounded bush. So start doing this. Just give it some shape. So this need not be too perfect. Bushes are generally forgiving, so you need not be very perfect in drawing the shape of the bush. It will still look like a bush once you're finished. So after blocking out the shapes here, this looks, I think, okay. Now we'll magic wand select this region and give it a gradient. So why I use a gradient is because the bush doesn't have an even tone. From top you have light coming down from the top to the bottom, so you want the bottom half of the bush to look a bit darker, and gradient is a good way to achieve this effect quickly. So we'll go with the gradient. You can play around with this dark and light colors. So this looks okay, I think. So once I'm done with the gradient, I want to give the bush a little bit of form inside. So I found after experimenting that artistic Gimpressionist Dotify is a good effect for this. So you can see that this looks like some leafy vegetation inside the bush, and already it looks better, I think. Once you zoom out, you can check that. So yes, this looks okay. Now we'll add a little bit of detail to this. So I use noise. Generally you can use noise or some other texture. You can use any noise. I use this one. Play around with this noise settings to how you want it. This looks, I think, okay. So generally you can just play around with these settings and see what suits you best. So I think this is okay. And now we've got a bush that looks like a bush. So we'll add some outline to this. So generally I like outlines to 2D sprite based graphics, but if you don't want outline, you can skip this. So I'll just give outline here. Or you can add a different layer and give it an outline. I don't use layers when it comes to pixel art because it's a bit too much. So you can do this how you want. It's just the way I do it. Go all the way around here. So now I've given the outline, and we'll add some highlights here. We'll add some accents actually to give it a bit of form. This looks like some of the vegetation is popping out. Gives it a bit more 3D-ish feel. Even though this is 2D art, we want it to look as realistic as possible within the constraints of the medium. So Add some dots here. I think this is good. This is okay now. So now we'll add some highlights. So we'll choose a lighter color of green to make it look like the light is coming from the top. So add some highlights here. This is a matter of playing around to see what looks best. So I like to add highlights because it makes it look more rounded, more 3D-ish, if you will. So these are the highlights. Add some more here. Make the highlights a little bit darker as you go down because you can see that the color of the bush is darker at the bottom. That looks okay. So we'll add some shadow regions for this with a darker green. So just a matter of playing around to see what works best. So if you add shadows here, this will look like go for a darker one, make it look more shadowy. You can see that the form is okay now. It looks like a bush. Of course, you can play around with this a bit to get the look that you want. I think this is okay, and it's just a matter of filling in more details if you want. And the shape, of course, this is not a very perfect shape. You can make the shape better. I just did it a quick and dirty shape just to show the technique of doing this. We'll also add a little bit of shadow to the bush. So select one and we'll add some shadow. So it looks like it's on the ground. So this is how I draw a bush in GIMP for use with the pixel based games. So I hope you found this useful, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.